right, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project. I'm your host, Sean Calhoun, and I thank you for joining me again this week. So this past weekend, I was just in St. Louis for the public launch of what's called the Operator Standard. And this is Andy Frisella's new AI-driven platform it's designed to help people become basically just personally excellent. But the biggest lesson that I took away from this entire weekend had a lot less to do with the technology that we were introduced to, and it had a lot more to do with the people that were at the event and the folks that I met. Because sometimes the environment you place yourself in is the exact thing that changes everything for you, right? Because the operator standard, it's basically it's a personal operating system for your life. It's like Jarvis for personal development, and it uses what's called Arcane, which is the name for the AI software that is built into the technology, and it uses that to help you do things like design and define your vision. It breaks it into these phases because right now you might be at point A and your vision and your goal is really far down the road. It's audacious, it's big, and that might seem intimidating to figure out, well, if I'm here, what could I possibly even do to get to that big goal? And that's what it does. It breaks it into phases and bite-sized pieces so that you get daily critical tasks and briefings and win streaks, and it turns it into a point system and the accountability that you need to just win the day, right? Instead of saying, oh my gosh, all I did was these 3 things today, how could that ever equate to me getting towards my big goal? Maybe it's to make a lot of money or whatever your vision is down the road. It takes it and turns it into needle-moving tasks so that you can just focus on the present moment and winning the day. It's pretty powerful stuff. It's really awesome. And the reason why I went to the event in the first place was that I've always been driven to things that help people become better. Hence, this podcast that you're listening to right now is literally called The Potential Project, because I believe that every one of us has the potential to be great and to, achieve amazing things and have an impact on this world in a really good way, right? I've always been driven to being better in, your health, right? Being better in your habits, being better in your standards, just better in the way that you show up for your family, your business, your body, and your life in general, right? And that's why I went to the event, right? Because that's what interested me about the operator standard. It's not just about setting goals on an app. It's about having this system that knows where you are, right? Where you want to go, and it helps you take that action every single day. And I think that matters so much because a lot of us don't need more information. Now, what I do is help bring clarity to women with data, but we don't need more information on the basics and the foundations of what it takes to get healthy, right? We need structure, we need clarity, we need accountability, and we need fewer excuses towards those things and just more execution, right? This simplifies it and does not equate exactly, but think about this, right? So I live in Pennsylvania. If my goal is to get to California and I'm on foot, well, I need to start walking towards California. I'll do it a little bit one day, I take a rest, I find some shelter, find some sleep, and then I have to wake up again and do it the next day and the next day and keep taking steps towards California if that's my goal. Well, if every single day I get up and I contemplate, well, what if I did this or what if I did that, and maybe I should try this, and you start thinking, but I don't actually move, I'm not getting any closer to California. So whether your goal is to build a business or to lose weight or to increase your energy, you have to take action, right? The thought is the first step. That brings it into fruition and builds the plan and makes it real. But then taking action brings you closer to the goal. So that is so important because we need execution in this process of achieving our goals, in this equation, right? So it's funny because when I was going to the event, right, I was flying from Philly to St. Louis. Now, when I was in the airport, I saw two guys wearing shirts for the brand that Andy Frisella owns. It's called First Form, right? He owns a supplement company. And I saw them wearing the shirt. So I thought, if these guys are going to the same city I am wearing these shirts, they have to be going to the event, right? So by default, I introduced myself and just said, "Are you going to the event?" And we started talking, right? So we caught up. We talked about, where they were from, what their goals were, what they do in life, the basic stuff, right? We get to the airport in St. Louis. I caught back up with them at the baggage claim. And the one guy goes, "I rented a car. Do you guys need a ride?" Right? He offered to drive me and the other guy to our hotels. And that one simple moment turned into us spending the weekend together, right? The one guy was in charge of the rides, right? We went and got lunch together. And worked out together. We went to the event together. But what stood out to me about that interaction with those guys was it was natural. It just felt natural to be around them, even though we were complete strangers, right? Like, these were two guys that I had just met, but because we were there for a similar reason, there was already this level of connection that we had, right? It was almost like a tip of the hat. Like, I imagine it being like a part of a sorority or a fraternity, even though I never did that, where you kind of know the person's standards and how they operate their life, so you can kind of just look at them and give them a tip of the hat and understand that you get it, so to speak. And these guys got it. They understood how I operated my life, and they lived by similar standards. So, we were all trying to grow. We were all trying to invest in ourselves. We're all trying to just simply become better. And that really stuck with me. Like, what was one of the biggest things from the entire weekend, right? And the real lesson that I'm trying to bring to this and how it applies to you is that community itself changes your standard in life. So, the biggest takeaway from the entire weekend was this, right? Is that community is one of the most underrated keys to success, right? You can be disciplined, you can be motivated, you can have goals, you can have the best app, the best AI system, coach, plan, protocol. You've probably tried all these things, right? But at some point, life is going to happen. I've been in the fitness and health industry for over 10 years. And I promise you, someone in your family is going to get sick. The economy is going to dip. The weather's going to be bad. You're going to get fired from your job. Like, these are going to happen. It's just a part of the cycle of life, right? And you're going to have days where you feel tired, where you feel off, where you cannot find motivation no matter what you try, right? There's going to be days where you're questioning what you're doing. And in those moments of life happening to you, the people who are around you matter so much, right? The right community, when you put yourself a part of that, it helps you stay connected to who you said you wanted to become, the identity, the person you're stepping into, rather than shrink back into the old negative self-esteem, the old smaller version of yourself. The community is what helps you stay in that vision. And that's why doing it alone is so hard, right? There's that old phrase, I've probably said it on here before, but if you want to go fast, do it alone. If you want to go far, do it with others. There is no business, there is no group that has ever gone and been very, very successful by themselves. You need a team, you need people to keep you accountable and hold you afloat, right? And the reality of it is, when it comes to achieving your goals towards your health and improving that, most people don't quit on their goals because they're incapable of achieving it, right? They quit because they get isolated along the journey, right? You lose momentum. They had a bad day, and that turns into a bad week, right? Then all of a sudden you stop going to the gym, you stop checking in, you stop caring about, what you're eating, and then they stop being around people who remind them of their goals. And then what happens is, slowly but surely, the old version of yourself, the old version of them, starts taking back control. You slip back into your old habits, your old ways of thinking, right? And you basically self-sabotage yourself. And this is why your environment matters. And this is why community matters. Because when you are around people who are also trying to raise their standards up, raise their goals, and work towards a similar mission, it becomes harder to shrink back into that old version and those old patterns that you once had, right? Now, this is the event that I went to was overall like personal development. It didn't specify on business or whatever, but what I'm talking about, being a part of a community and staying towards your mission instead of shrinking back into your old, smaller version of yourself. This is true in your business. This is true in personal development. This is true in relationships. And it is 1000% true in your health, right? And this is one of the reasons why I believe so much in community for the women who I work with going through menopause, right? Because if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to improve your energy, balance your hormones, sleep better, reduce your bloating, and rebuild your confidence, it can feel extremely lonely. You might feel like, no one around understands me, no one gets it, no one knows what my body's going through. I don't feel like I look in the mirror and I don't feel like I'm looking at myself anymore, right? And then the conversation starts to happen, right? Maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm too far gone, or I'm too old, or maybe this is just aging and a part of the process. But when you get yourself around other women who are walking through this similar struggles and the same journey in life and choosing to take action, something can change, right? You realize, number one, you're not crazy. And that's why I love running the functional labs, number one, because when you get clarity on why your body is giving you these symptoms, the symptoms are signs of what's going on internally, the labs help you bring you that clarity. So it means you're not crazy. Then you're surrounding yourself around other women who are going through the same thing. Boom. That thought immediately leaves your mind. It's like, okay, not alone. We're in this together, right? And then the other part of it is, it's not a sigh of relief because you don't have to put in work, but it's almost a sigh of relief to know that you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Like, how cool is that, right? When you're on a mission towards something and you have a team of people on the same mission, you can all kind of give a little effort and it moves you down the path together, right? And that is the beauty of community. It keeps you in momentum. And in life, momentum sometimes is really hard to come about. For some people, you might be able to gain some real momentum in a few days. Some people, it might take a few weeks or a few months. But guess what? When you have that momentum, it is so powerful, but you can lose it very, very quickly. In fact, you can lose it way quicker than what it took you to gain your momentum. Like, let's say you're sleeping well, you're getting movement in, you're eating really clean, you're taking your supplements, you're doing all the things, and you're really starting to feel good. It's been a few months, and you're like on fire right now. You're really just clicking on all cylinders. Well, what took you a few months to build up in momentum could be lost in a week. Now, I don't say that to scare you. I just say that because this is why we're talking about community, right? If you're doing this all alone and you've built up momentum, you don't want to be able to slip back into your old ways so quickly, right? So momentum becomes super, super fragile when you're alone. And at the same time, momentum becomes super strong when it's shared amongst a collaborative, amongst a community, right? And when you're in the right community, someone else's wins, like when they share them, it reminds you what is possible for you because you're similar, right? If they're a human and you're a human, they've done something, you can too, right? Someone else's consistency is going to challenge you to keep going when you're having a bad day. Someone else's honesty and sharing a truth about themselves helps you feel less alone to say, oh my gosh, she was thinking that too. She's been going through that too. All right, I really appreciate her for sharing that, but that makes me feel good and it makes you not feel like you're isolated on this island, right? And someone else's breakthrough, like when they finally make a huge leap or have a win or hit some monumental goal that they're working through, it gives you hope to know like, hey, I'm on the right path. I can do this too. I know her. She's doing the same things I'm doing. I can get there one day too. Right? And sometimes when you're having a hard day, you don't need a new plan. I've run into this a million times, right? When life starts to hit, I would always search for, well, what else could I try? What's this new diet or this new workout plan or this new technique or this new person that I can listen to? That's not always going to get you to where you're going. Sometimes you have to just keep pushing through the hard times, doing the boring work and make that breakthrough. And when you're around people who remind you not to quit, that allows you to make the breakthrough happen, right? So it all comes down to who you're surrounding yourself with and the community that you're a part of. Now, I think that, the operator standard, the app, the software that I went to the event to learn more about and to launch to the public, I think it's powerful because it gives people a system, right? But what I felt when I was there in St. Louis was just the power of the environment behind the system. Now, Andy Frisella, the founder, when he was on stage, he was talking about this. And he said it multiple times. He's like, guys, this is not an app. It is not an AI bot. It is none of that stuff. It is the standards and the community behind all of that, which will create change, which will create momentum and create, improvements in your life and trickle out into your environment. Because if you are becoming personally excellent and you're working on your health, your relationships, your business, and just taking care of yourself, people in your household will feel that and they will eventually start to make those changes. And when your household is becoming excellent, your neighborhood will start to change and people at your work will start to change and that ripple becomes larger. And this is the effect that he's trying to make through this community and through this software and AI and affect the world. Now, where it comes back for you is that just community in general helps you become the kind of person who continues to show up, right? And that's the magic combination that most people are looking for, right? Because it's structure plus community. It's clarity plus accountability, right? It's daily action plus people who are actually moving in the same direction as you. So I could talk about this for days, but being in the fitness and health industry for so long, this is truly the formula, right? We have AI nowadays. We have, very advanced medical systems and in-depth looks at the biology in our body. We can get answers, but the answers alone will not get you the result that you're looking for. I have people who come up to me and say, hey, Sean, how much is it to do the labs? Or how could I get my labs done? And really what they should be asking is, hey, Sean, what is the investment to be a part of the community of women? Because it's the community of women collaborating, working with one another, sharing wins, sharing struggles, and moving down the path that gets you what you want. I could run labs all day, left, right, and center, and just give you your results. But that isn't what makes the change. It's the people, it's the community, it's the path, it's the direction that gets you where you want to go, right? And when I left St. Louis, right, when I got home, I was feeling super refreshed. And of course, maybe you've been to an event before, a conference, a thing, and you felt the same way, and it's more of those rah-rah things. I get it. But you have to stay in that energy, right? You have to feel what you felt and continue to tap back into that, right? And it's not because of what I learned when I was there. It's not what was talked about. It's because of who I was around. That's why I felt refreshed, right? It reminded me how important it is to keep putting yourself in the rooms and in the communities with people who think bigger, who act with intention, and who simply want to become better. There is a ton of people out there who are very negative, who don't really have much going for them, and just are in this slump. But don't let that fact be the reason why you think there's not good people out there. There are millions of people who have a positive attitude, who are willing to work hard, who are thinking bigger and have positive frames of mind, right? So sometimes it's just about choosing better rooms. Sometimes it's about having better conversations, being influenced by better people, and just having better standards in your life, right? Because you have the choice. As a human being, the thing that separates us from animals is that we have intellectual properties. We have the ability to think. We have the ability to have perception, to take thought and move it into action, right? We have these properties about us that lets us choose. Now, yes, there's a lot of things in life that you don't have control of, but as a human being, you have control over so much. And being in those better rooms, having better standards, making better decisions is something that's very much in your control, and it's your duty to do that if you're someone who wants to become better. Now, if you could care less about that, you probably shouldn't be listening to this show anyway, because I'm talking to the people who actually give a crap about living a better existence. The people who don't think that just existing on this earth and dying whenever they die is good enough, right? We're here to make an impact. We're here to get the most out of what this material life has to offer, and then we'll send that into generations behind us, right? So here's what I want you to think about, right? Who are you around the most often? Do they help raise your standards? Do they help support the version of you that you're trying to become? Do they make it easier to be consistent or harder, right? Or do they pull you back into like the old habits, the old frame of mind, the old excuses, the old patterns that you used to do when you felt stuck? Because your environment that you're a part of is either helping build your momentum or it is slowly and quietly stealing it from you all at the same time. You're either growing or you're dying, right? And the lesson that I got from the conference, the weekend in St. Louis was very simple. You can go faster alone for a little bit, and maybe you felt that momentum by working on your health by yourself for a little bit. But if you want to stay consistent, and if you want to weather the ups and downs of life and actually become the person that you say you want to be, you must get around people and people who are positive and working in the same direction, that are walking the same path, right? The community aspect and the community part of the equation that we're talking about here in life, it's not a bonus, right? Community is a part of the standard. It's a part of what's necessary to get you to literally become the person that you want to be. Now, if what we were just talking about today hit home for you, especially if you're a woman who's been through peri and postmenopause and you're trying to rebuild your energy, maybe you're trying to lose some weight, and maybe you're just trying to feel like yourself again. This is literally the reason why I created the Vitality Wellness Collective. Like in the name, it is called collective because it's not just about the fact that we run functional labs. It's not just the fact about using lifestyle principles and learning how to exercise for your body and eat for your body and sleep properly and gain energy. It's not about that, even though that's very impactful in our equation for success. It is about the other women who are in the community, who are a part of it, right? It's not just another health program. It is simply a community of women testing instead of guessing, number one, building better habits, and staying consistent together, right? So that down the path, when life happens, you hold each other afloat. You stay positive. You work through those situations and you continue on towards your best self. So if that interests you, you can message me. You could go watch the masterclass that's on my website. You could do any of those things, however I can best help you. But I promise you, if this feels like a nudge towards surrounding yourself around those women, this may be the right step for you. So I'd love to help you out, answer any questions, and just guide you on the right path, because you have to take action towards that version of you that you're becoming. So again, I thank you for spending time with me today, and I hope that you do take action in some way, shape, or form towards your best self, and I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me on today's episode. I hope you got a ton of value from it. If we're not connected on Instagram yet, let's change that. Hit me up at Sean Calhoun _ That's SEAN Calhoun _ Shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think of the show, or if you got any questions about how to level up your health. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.